All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back for another episode of the Weekly Roundup here on A2D Radio. I'm your host, as always, Steve Rochelle, being joined by Mr. Man over here with the lovely locks, our favorite delinquent, Mr. Zachary Burt. See, my favorite delinquent, okay? Is that better this week, sir?
I mean, you keep referring to me as a delinquent, and I have a juvenile record that would prove otherwise. I was very educated in my youth, and I am a very educated person. I'm just a knucklehead, Steven. I'm a knucklehead, okay? And I like to have fun and bust people's balls. And this is a perfect platform for us to do that. Me and you are perfect together when it comes to that. But a delinquent, that's a little harsh, man. Come on,
All right, I got to come up with another phrase for you because I don't want to hurt your feelings. I love you. We're gonna have a fun one lined up for you today. You know, obviously we're gonna talk some Eagles. Eldra Buckley's supposed to be joining us this afternoon. We're gonna talk a little NBA Finals. The Miami Heat pushed it to 6 games last night, so we got to talk about that. My good friend Mr. Burt Watson will be joining us around 4:40. Going to talk a little combat sports, a little MMA, and obviously we're going to talk on some playoff baseball as well. You know, we got some upsets going on here. So, Mama Arnone saying, "What's up, Zachary?"
What's going on, Mama Arnone? I can't believe she's tuning. Oh, see, this is wonderful. Mama Arnone tuning in. Oh, we love Mama
Arnone. Yeah, man. But
one of my most favorite people on the planet, seriously.
But let's get into it. You know, we're obviously, let's get kicked off, and we're being brought to you by our doc, make him your doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy.com, LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton location. Find them on the web, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. And we're going to get into everything, you know, starting off with the poll question. And obviously, our poll question is brought to you by Ambuck Services, that AMBUCK Services. Call Michael Ambrose. Tell him A2D sent you 20% off your gutter guards. Anything around your house, got you covered. AmbuckServices.com. And with that poll question, the Eagles will be victorious over the Pittsburgh Steelers Sunday. Agree, disagree, Mr. Burr?
I might stick to a chain. What happened last week, Steven? Tell me what happened last week. You asked me that question last week of what would happen if we would win, and what did I say?
Oh no, you were down on your boys last week, brother.
I said until I was proven otherwise, it was going to be hard to pick them to win a game, right?
Yeah.
So I liked what I saw.
All right, let's go this way. What did they show you Sunday night, Zach?
They showed me they're gritty. They showed me the same thing we've known about them under Doug Peterson this entire time. They don't ever stop fighting. They don't ever think they're out of it. They always they always fight back even when it seems like the expectations are at the complete lowest and their backs are completely against the wall. They've done that for the 5 years that Doug Peterson's been here. So I think this whole thing that I was worried about last week, where I said this team could be in trouble because of Doug Peterson and the attitude and playing for the tie as opposed to not playing for the win. Maybe all that, this team once again has proven us all a little bit wrong when it comes to doubting that side of it. They're not going to their mentality is not changed. They're not going to ever think that they're out of it, or that they're not going to have a chance to be a playoff team or win the division, whatever. Their mindset is, they're still a good football team, and they think, they're the same team I guess they thought they were before the year, regardless of what people on the outside think. And isn't it great when a football team can block out the outside noise? Something that's very hard to do in this city, and they seem to do it very well with Doug Peterson. I think it's something about him playing in the city that helps him understand that. The Steelers game's tough, but this right here, this is a defining point in your season, right? Because you have a chance. Dallas is playing the Giants. As bad as Dallas's defense has been and all that, I think Dallas is good enough to beat the Giants, right? If Dallas is losing to the Giants, I mean, hell, this whole conversation might be irrelevant anyway, because if Dallas isn't good enough to beat the Giants with 5, 6, 7, who knows how many wins it might take to win the division at that point. It could be historically bad if the Cowboys aren't going to beat the Giants. So I'm going to at least give the Cowboys a win and say, okay, they moved to 2-3. So for me, that makes this Steelers game just as important as this 49ers game was last week. We talked about the 49ers game was absolutely must win, right? Your season was on life support. Losing to the Steelers, I don't think would put the season on life support, but you're still in a hole that you're now trying to climb out of and dig your way out of. A hole that you've already dug your way out of, early in the season. Why why put yourself in a position where you have to dig, out of that again? You lose to the Steelers and the Cowboys beat the Giants. They're now a game ahead of you in the division. You beat the Steelers and Cowboys beat the Giants. You still have the advantage in the division, 2-2-1. And you just beat a good football team in Pittsburgh that is definitely one of the better teams in the AFC that all of a sudden gives you a lot more credibility than we had 2 or 3 weeks ago where, people were like, you losing to a Washington football team? Like, how is this even possible? You guys are that bad? You were not just beating, it's one thing last week, we beat the banged up 49ers. That's great. You're beating a healthy Steelers team coming off an extra bye week, right? That's had all this extra rest because their Titans game got postponed. For all intents and purposes, they should have no excuses, right? They've had all this time to game plan. They've had all this extra time to get healthy. So I would like to think we can win a close football game. This is, I guess, the optimistic side of me coming out this week. As pessimistic as I was last week, Stephen, right? They brought me right back in. This is what they do to us. This is why it drives us crazy to be a Philadelphia sports fan. We can't stand it, but we love it at the same time, right? Because 2 weeks ago, we were saying the season was over. There's no chance. It's awful. It doesn't matter how bad Dallas is. We've got no chance at this thing. And now here we are talking about turning the season around if we could just find a way to beat an undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers team. And then, and I know as much as I'm trying to be optimistic, as much as I'm saying I think, we play like we did last week and build off of that, guys like Fulgham stepping up, huge things like that need to continue to happen, right? As much as I feel like I'm going to say that and I'm going to be optimistic and I'm going to actually like our chances this week, then I'm worried that we're going to just lay an absolute egg and we're going to get our asses kicked. I'm going to get my heart broken again and I'm going to be depressed and we're going to be right back on the Ben Franklin ready to jump off next week.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you this. They showed me that there's still some life left in this team, okay? We know that. Jordan Mailata has finally figured it out, apparently. You stop him on the right side. You put him on the left side, and all of a sudden his mechanics look great, and he looks like he's a starting left offensive tackle in the National Football League.
Looked a lot better than Jason Peters. Looked like our best option at left tackle.
Well, and that also starts another question: what do you do with Jason Peters when you come back? You plug him back in over at right guard?
Fuck Jason Peters. And I told you that to begin with, right? I said, listen, the way it was going to work is he had all the leverage so he would get his money, but fuck Jason Peters. Like at this point, 38-year-old Jason Peters, like, are you along for the ride wherever this season is going to take us, or are you really this selfish of a player where you demand to have to be in the starting lineup at 38 years old when we all know you suck right now?
All right, well, we got a first comment from YouTube here, and if the Steelers show up, we're gonna have problems. Your chances that they come out flat and you hop on them early, you have to use your strength, which is your defensive line, and go.
Our defense is playing well right now.
Listen, they can still bring their A game, and I don't think that the Eagles are in a whole world full of trouble. They are 3-0 against teams who don't have anything to write home about. That was the Giants, the Texans, and who else? I mean, come on. I'm not going to sit there and say Pittsburgh is overly inflated, but they haven't beaten anybody yet. So,
no, but I think Pittsburgh's well coached, and I think they're well coached every year. Like we know what they're going to be. Like we know
Mike Tomlin's always going to be a well coached team. Let's be honest about that. Big Ben, it still doesn't look right to me. Let's be honest. I mean, he's still always going to have a cannon. We know that.
He's older. Yeah, he's old. He's getting up there. You can see it with his game.
He's a decision. He's gonna give you plays where you might lose plays with a younger quarterback. So, if I'm a Pittsburgh fan, I'm still riding with Ben, but he's not the Ben of old, and you have to realize that.
And he gives you chances at turnovers. Like
I know.
One part of Ben's games is you do have a chance at interception.
Kind of like what we have to deal with Carson. Like he's a little bit of a free flyer in that aspect, though.
Yeah. That's a great, I love the Roethlisberger comparison when it comes to Carson's game. A lot of people, we hate Roethlisberger, the person in this city, but it's a great it's a great comp when you look at their games. Carson is probably a more athletic Roethlisberger. I mean, that's really like when you can compare their play styles, how they try to extend plays, shake off hits in the pocket. I really love the comparison, and I don't think it's, I think Roethlisberger's a future Hall of Famer and a guy that's been one of the better quarterbacks in this league for a long time. So, and he's a guy that we talk about. He's only played 3 full seasons in his whole NFL career. We always want to talk about how banged up Carson is. I love the comp with Ben Roethlisberger, how Roethlisberger's played this long of an NFL career, and he's only had 3 full seasons, only 3 16-game seasons.
You see Anthony's comment?
Just called not yet. Dude, he's always been big, but he looks extremely fat and out of shape. I mean, he looks way out of football shape right now. He looks like he was eating way too many cheeseburgers and French fries and chicken wings when he didn't think he was playing football no more. And all of a sudden got a call and was like, yeah, I'll come play. And he's 25 pounds overweight.
All right, Jim, let's talk about this one a little bit.
Listen, our defense has been playing well. Our defense has been what's keeping us in games. And Smith-Schuster will stay right now.
It really boils down to which offense is going to be able to make plays and which defense is going to be able to cause turnovers. We've seen the Eagles show up with that part of it at the second half of that game last week against the 49ers. So we'll see what happens in that aspect. I don't think, like I said, I don't think Pittsburgh's overly inflated, but I do think they're a little bit overhyped right now because of the simple fact of who they played. But that doesn't mean they don't have legitimate playmakers on the defense. Their secondary, I don't know who's going to make a catch against those guys because we've been having problems getting separation and having some balls. So Carson's going to have to thread some needles, and he's going to have to make some plays with his arm, with his eyes, with his feet. So, I mean, what we'll see there, I don't know, but I still see a 3 to 6 point game, which way is going to wind up going. What's up, Greg?
Greg, man, what's going on, Greg? I'm thinking, a field goal game is a good call here either way. I mean, I really do. I would think even if Pittsburgh wins, I would like to say that I think what we saw last week shows me that this is a football team. Like you said, that still has plenty of fight in them. They're going to find a way to be in this football game one way or another there at the end. Whether or not we win or not, I don't know, but we'll be there at the end. We'll be in it. So I like if I feel go either way. I'd like it Birds maybe 24-21, something like that. Maybe similar score to last week. Similar game plan maybe to last week of what you're trying to do. Our defense. I mean, people want to. We said we ripped Jim Schwartz too, and maybe this is all. We do this when we're just our anger and our rage is at an all time high level and we just can't hold any of it back. But I was really surprised when I saw some of the numbers on how well the defense has played. When you look at where we rank in passing and run defense and pressures on the quarterback, I mean, our defense has been the thing that's really been keeping us in football games. They kept us in the game last week, made a couple big stops when we needed them. I think you're going to lean on them in this Pittsburgh game. Absolutely. He asked who's going to stop Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, Darius Slay has been playing, when he's on the field, following the other team's best receiver, he's been our best defensive player, I think. I mean, people want to talk about how good the defensive line's been as of late. I think Slay's been our best, maybe our most important defensive player because of all the pressure he's taken off of everybody else, finally having that legitimate corner on the outside. And he made the big play. You saw the freeze frame picture last week on the Hail Mary play at the end, the play he made to get his hand in there and break up what was potentially a game-winning catch. I'm not worried whether he's following Juju Smith-Schuster all over the field or he's covering specifically somebody that's lined up on that outside of the field, whether it's Claypool or whoever it is. I'm confident that Slay's, shutting down whoever that guy is for the most part.
James has us getting beat bad and has in his face.
Well, that could happen too. That could happen too. But I mean, right now I would like to think, especially from the defensive perspective, this defense is playing too well. Right, like this defense is playing too well for something like that to happen. This defense will keep us in the game regardless of what the offense is doing. I'd like to think the offense can build up on what we saw last week. Me and you talked about this throughout the week. Well, some of the things we saw, were the offensive numbers were they gaudy? Did they jump off the page and you go, wow, look at all this? No, none of that. But if you watched it start to finish, you saw an offense that seemed to maybe figure themselves out. They figured out what their identity finally was as an offense as that football game went along.
Jim, I wouldn't be worried who Carson's going to throw to, because I think we've seen just in that San Fran game is if a guy can get open and make a play and give Carson a window where he can make some. That's throw last week showed you. You know, he guy just came right off the practice squad. You know, I think, you know, he's probably had, you know, maybe a handful of snaps or reps with him in practice. They nailed it once out of 2 times in practice, and they nailed it in the game. Listen,
the throw to Fulgham, I mean, that's a big time throw, showing a lot of confidence, because like they broke it down on the replay where, I mean, you could tell it was just a timing route. Like, he's not like waiting for him to get by the defender. He was jammed. He gets off him a little bit, has a step. Carson throws it up, and then he's just running underneath of it, making a play. It's the best throw I think Carson's made all year long. And then for Fulgham to make the play that he did, to stay in bounds and get into the end zone. I mean, I know we're making the joke, who the fuck is that guy? And like, we don't even know who the kid is and all that. But I mean, you can't convince me that that's not a legitimate NFL play right there. Now, maybe it's a one-time thing and we won't see anything from him the rest of the year. But I don't think it's not just like there was some busted coverage. He ends up wide open and he walks in for an easy score. I mean, that kid makes a big-time play on that ball to adjust on the ball in the air, make the catch, stay in bounds, get into the end zone, all those things. I mean, those are the things we've been looking for from a wide receiver for how long on this team? And I mean, outside of Alshon in the Super Bowl year, we haven't really had a guy to lean on like that. I don't care if it is a guy that we didn't know his fucking name going into last week. I mean, we didn't know Greg Wood's name really. We didn't know who Greg Wood could be going into week 14 of last year. So, we know what Ward is. We saw Carson lean on him a little bit more last week and trust him a little bit more when they were double teaming Zach Ertz. If one more guy can step up, if Fulgham can be that guy that can, give you, 3-4 catches, a lot like Greg Ward's been that guy for you, that, this offense is just going to look better and better each week. We saw what the identity is of this football team offensively, what we need to do to be successful. They just need to commit to Miles Sanders a little bit more. It seems like we commit to him through 3 quarters. He ends up being the thing that, all of the offense goes through him, and then we get to the 4th quarter, and for whatever reason, we get fed this bullshit excuse that, the reason Corey Clement was in there with 3 minutes and 45 seconds to go is because we want him to be our 4-minute running back. No, the fuck you don't, Doug. I don't want to hear that. If that's the case, somebody needs to get fucking fired. Deuce Staley all of a sudden isn't as good of a running backs coach as I thought he was 2 weeks ago. If he's the one that made the decision for Corey Clement to be the guy in the 4-minute situation, I don't want to hear that. If I don't want this nonsense about Miles is tired or he's not bullshit. You know what? Miles is the franchise back, and you did nothing to bring in a second running back to count on. He's got to suck it up and be the guy that's in there in that 4-minute situation. He just is. We can't have Boston Scott and Corey Clement on the field when you need a game-winning drive. We just can't. I mean, he might be our most important offensive player. We say might be. He probably is at this point our most important offensive player. We said the offense has been going through him, so you can't deny it right now, right? Yet we somehow find a way to not have him on the field with 4 minutes to go.
And not even the thing this week. You know that the thing that Pittsburgh is the best at is run stopping. And Miles it's gonna be like penicillin, man. You're just gonna have to keep applying it and wait for it to eventually push through and work, man. You just have to keep up with it. You have to be balanced against this team, because if you abandon the run early and go to the pass, this defense will eat you alive.
Yes.
And
it's a very good defense.
Boil down to which defense can keep you under in the teens. If you can keep the other team in the teens, then you're probably going to want to win in that ball game. I definitely agree with that one, James.
I see what you're saying. I mean, I still think 24-21, something like that, but 21-17, that could also be like, that range is very, very possible. 17-14 and a late touchdown drive wins it, something like that.
Like I said, man, what you really have to do is which defensive front winds up stopping the run and causing disruption in the pass game winds up winning this game, regardless of what we got to say. And then you were already touching on the Corey Clement nonsense from like a Sunday. I'm gonna say this, man. I don't care. I love Corey. Met him down Chickies. He cool dude. He's from the area guy. I know this team shows him a lot of love, but listen. This is what you get when you don't give yourself a wrecking ball, a hammer, somebody to to get you them tough yards when you know you're going to have a lot of bodies around you. And it's not to say a knock on Corey or even Miles. They're just that's not the type of style of runners that they are. I don't care if you try to paint Corey into that role. That's not who he is. That's not the style running back he is, and that's not what he's here to bring you. At the end of the day, so I mean,
for me, well, that's funny. But for me, at the end of the day, the bottom line is Corey Clement. Corey Clement is, as much as we can all love him for what he did, as much as we can all love Corey Clement for his contributions to that Super Bowl team, he is not. There is no way Corey Clement should be on the field in a game.
We're in this situation is the front office put themselves in a cap situation. They don't go sign anyone in the offseason.
We talked about that. Great. So that's all on Henry, right?
You don't get anyone off the free agent wire. And this is why you almost cost yourself a win in San Francisco after your quarterback puts them on the team, and the defense also gives you a berth. You almost give up 2 touchdowns in less than 3 minutes. It's ridiculous. I don't care if you're in prevent or not. It's one of the reasons why I'm so sick and tired of Jim Schwartz. I love some of the things that he's able to kind of make some adjustments later on in the season.
So you think the defense?
It's so sickening to even continue to see.
So you think the defense is playing well, maybe in spite of Jim Schwartz, as opposed to because of him?
All right, so tell me this: why are we sitting there in prevent, letting them throw up and down?
No, I agree with that. Listen, the play call, like the Cincinnati game where it's 3rd and 15.
That time was fine, and then you get that 10-point cushion you had, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, we're just gonna step back. It's cool, we got this. The game's not over yet.
Well, yeah, I would. In the Cincinnati game, stuff where it was 3rd and 15, we allowed the conversion. They ran the ball. They did a halfback draw on us and converted 3rd and 15 because of the type of defense you play. That type of shit does drive me crazy. That's all Jim Schwartz and his play calling. But then you look at how good the defense is playing, and you're saying, okay, I can't complain about the results we're getting from this defense. I can complain maybe about how we're getting the results. It's like, I don't, if we can do this with Jim Schwartz running the defense, imagine what we could do with somebody that, is a really, really good defensive mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I'm going with that. I don't necessarily disagree with your Jim Schwartz take.
Anthony, answer me this, brother. Did Fletcher come to play last week? Because we called him out a few weeks ago and he showed up, and then he showed up again last week. So as much as I ride him for disappearing a time, rightfully so, he's been showing up. So I think with everything that's what's going on, I think he's also another one of these silent leaders that we have in this locker room that isn't one of these guys that's vocal out here in the media and all stuff like that. But he's one of these guys that they rely on. You got the human barking machine in freaking our boy freaking. Did you see that the audio from the game?
Yeah, the Brandon Graham and him, back and forth was awesome. It was good shit. It really was. But that's why I've said,
what you see with this team, like, listen, like we have spots where we get caught in some things, but they rally together, they pull things together, and they tighten up things when it needs to be done. As much as this Pittsburgh game scares me, I also look at recent history. On paper, everyone say, hey, this is a bad matchup. I know everyone's already picking Pittsburgh to win this game. Listen, man, I don't really see it. I think it's going to be close. It can go either way. Really, like I said, I've been saying it the last handful of weeks. I think we continue to say it. The game will be won up front.
Trying to see. What's the line? Pittsburgh's favored by a touchdown from what I'm reading, and the over-under for points is 44. So that tells you they think it's going to be low scoring, 24-20, something like that.
Anthony, he disappeared in the fourth quarter. Were they running the ball? Was he really getting they were in really kind of more their prevent defense? So yeah, of course he's going to disappear at that point in time.
Yeah,
I don't recall them running the ball.
Yeah, they made a QB change, and then they kind of it's like they just you know how it is when you make a QB change, and it's like, oh, okay, here's the it's just a little bit of a rally. They caught a little bit of lightning in a bottle there at the end and tried to make a little bit of a game of it. But I mean, to be honest, when you look 25-20, that game was never that close. Like, they were never in that game like that. It was, it would have been one of those miracle type things at the end for them to really win that game. And I know they had a chance at it, but when you look at it, yeah, it should have never really probably gotten to 25-20 with that chance. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the game was not that close.
They made it close at the end. That's it.
Yeah, and whether they had to do it prevents or, they put a little pressure on our defense with about 5 minutes to go. Okay, good for them. You know what I mean?
At this one here, there's going to be 5,500 fans at the game tomorrow.
Great. I mean, the line being -8, I mean, that's a crazy line for me. Why is it such a big line in Vegas? I mean, they're all over.
Like, if you look at your national sports media heads, a lot of people are kind of shying away from this game a little bit.
I mean, I would have to talk to somebody that reads those lines and understands them a little bit better, but -8, I mean, that's a lot. Like, usually the home team gets 3 points automatically, right? Like, the home team, if they think the teams are pretty close, the home team the home team's a 3-point favorite. So for Pittsburgh to be the home team and be an 8-point favorite,
yeah,
I mean,
that is crazy, DB. Like, but also you have to think about it. Like, even look at that touchdown pass that Carson threw. That wasn't no 6-step drop.
Yeah, he delivered throws like that.
He didn't even see the ball come out. So, like, if he's starting to develop that type of rapport with him, I can't not see them not having, at least another, 250, 300-yard passing game. But they have to have balance. You have to have balance against the Pittsburgh Steelers, regardless if you're only getting 3-4 yards a carry.
What I'd really like to see us maybe try to do, because what we've done is, especially last week, we really worked Miles Sanders throughout the most of the game, and then only we picked and chose our times to throw. The previous 2 weeks,
he just hit it right
after a bye. That's good too. That's all right. That might be true.
But does that work? Because that's not an actual bye. Like, it was.
I mean, it's still they're coming off a week where they didn't play football. So for me, it counts as a bye. Absolutely. I mean, I think it has to. How else can you count it? I don't need Carson throwing the ball 40 times, but what I would like to see is early on, if we can try to hit for one of those big plays down the field early, like a play like we saw to Fogle. If we can hit on a play like that early, in the game, as opposed to waiting until later on, when we almost need it. I think we can maybe it can be a little bit of a game breaker if we could find a way to hit a play like that early. And who also people have been ripping, also I really liked it. I thought he came on strong towards the end of the San Fran game. John Hightower, I think, has been figuring out this offense a little bit. He's seen, slowly but surely, you see slant routes and things like that. Him and Carson have a little bit of chemistry. I think he's due to maybe break a big play.
I want to get some of your thoughts on some of this other stuff that happened around the NFL this week, right?
Okay.
So obviously we have to talk about some professionalism in sports because last week you had or early in the week you had LeBron walk off with 10 seconds left, doesn't really do the cordial handshake thing, and then Thursday night, here we go again. Mrs. Tom Brady did not accept Captain Nick Foles' handshake. He was left in the middle of the field once again. For whatever reason, you're hearing all these excuses or whatever. This is not nonsense like that. But I think Tom is officially crybaby Tom moving forward in the city of Philadelphia.
I bet you. I'll even bet money he did this just to troll Philadelphia fans. Look, that sounds like something Tom Brady would do. They were so mad when I didn't shake his hand last time. Wait till they see this. I mean, listen, he's Tom Brady. Yeah, he's won 6 Super Bowls. Tom Brady's proven time and time again, it's the man that walks down streets of New York City wearing Uggs boots, okay? Because he just doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck what other people think. He does what he wants. He does what he feels like in the moment. The guy who felt like shaking Nick Foles' hand, so fuck off. He didn't feel like doing it.
What happened to make you not like did Giselle say she likes the BDN thing? Is that what happened, Tom? Come on, guys. What's going on?
I mean, listen, I think what it comes down to is, listen, all these all-time greats, they have an ego complex like that. And he never had a problem losing to the Peyton Mannings of the world or the quarterbacks like that. But I think I think in like an all-time great soul, like deep down in their soul, losing to a guy like Nick Foles, who I'm sure he felt like is an inferior quarterback to him, that just hurts you at the core when you're like, I think, an all-time great like that. I just think it does. Unless, but that's what if you brought up LeBron's a different story. LeBron, I think, has proven time and time again how soft he is. We all know how soft LeBron is. So, it's a whole different story.
We'll get to LeBron in a few minutes, brother.
But Tom Brady's a lot more in the Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant type competitor for me, where he's always got that competitive fire going. So I'm sure losing to a guy like Nick Foles eats at him, and I'm sure it still eats at him. And then for it to happen again in the humiliating way that it just did, I'm sure it pissed him off quite a bit.
Yeah. So then we had a couple quarterback changes going on this week. We had a coach let go. It's crazy. So Haskins is out in Washington, not even after a full 16 games as a starter.
And they even go to Alex Smith. Yeah, it's not even Alex Smith.
No, and that's the worst part. Alex Smith is the number 2, not Haskins.
Yeah.
Not
so Haskins. I thought maybe they'd wait and make the change once they got, once Smith was ready to go. They changed for Kyle Allen. Like, that's almost a slap in the face to Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah,
being a gentleman. This is the NFL. This is the NFL. Being a gentleman. Who cares about being a gentleman? Brett Favre was not a gentleman, but Brett Favre is one of my favorite quarterbacks of all fucking time. Brett Favre would grab his nuts and curse at the other team. But I love the guy. I don't need gentlemen in the NFL. It don't bother me that he's not a gentleman. Like, that doesn't bother me. That's,
and some people are like, oh, he was in the heat of the moment. He didn't want to say anything. Like, listen, you're like, hey, good game, Nick. Have a good season. Gotta get out of here, man.
He's proven, like, when he lost to Mahomes in the playoffs, he actually invited Mahomes over into their locker room. So he's proven when he loses the quarterbacks that he feels like, quarterbacks, I think, not that he necessarily likes, but I think quarterbacks that he at least feels are good.
Look at that.
Making no sense. How am I making no sense? So what? So what? You need gentlemen? Tom, you're the last one. Don't act like you like gentlemen in sports. You love when guys are fucking hardcore and they're badasses and they curse at people and they grab their nuts and shit like that. Don't act like you need somebody to be a fucking gentleman. I'll fuck off with your shake hands. You're such a hypocrite. Oh my God. Oh, stop with your nonsense. Tom, I'm stealing one of your lines. You're a problem. Tom, you're a problem, bro. Get out of here with that. All of a sudden you need guys to shake hands. Shake hands. Shaking hands is for losers. For losers.
He's right.
No, first of all, I'm not shaking a damn hand. Tommy, they won't even. Hold on, Tommy. They won't even let you. You coach travel ball. They won't even let you shake hands at the travel ball tournament. You just got to tip your cap now. They got to tip your cap because of COVID, so you can't even shake somebody's hand anymore. Okay. I don't care that. I mean, is it disrespectful? Sure, it's disrespectful. But I don't think when you've won 6 Super Bowls and you're the greatest quarterback of all time, you can slap somebody in the face and get away with it. I don't really give a. It doesn't bother me the way it bothers you guys. I don't know what the hell's wrong with y'all. We get soft over the weirdest shit. I don't know why we're getting soft over this shit. It's what QBs do. If you say so.
Before we get you too crazy. But either way,
we do tip. That's true. We do tip caps with respect. Tipping caps is respectful.
Either way, he's showing who he was. It's just another thing for us to kind of point and laugh, like, we know who you are, bro. Either way, the Dwayne Haskins thing is crazy. Bill O'Brien is out in Texans, and Romeo Crennel is now the oldest active head coach in NFL history.
Dude, he's been in this position how many other times? Like 3 other times as an interim head coach where he just steps in when somebody gets fired. Like this is what he does. He did this in Kansas City one time when Todd Haley got fired. So, I don't know. It's Romeo Crennel. Good for him. He's the oldest head coach in history. Look at Tom and his mom double teaming. What the hell is going on here? Got Tom and his mom double teaming me. I got to fight both of them now. I will not argue with Mrs. Arnaud. Okay, I will not argue with Mrs. Arnaud because I'm scared that Tom's mom. Like I have to go see Tom's mom at some point. She might smack me in the back of the head. I'm not. I have too much respect for Tom's mom. Have way too much love for her. That's like a second mom to me. But Tom, me and Tom will argue all day. Tommy knows.
But
Tommy, we could keep going all day.
The Texans are in a whole world of trouble. They don't even have any first or second round picks next season. I mean, you literally have to start over from scratch. I don't know what to even say.
I mean, how could Tommy? This is I get it. We're off the rails. We're 35 minutes and we're off the rails. Oh my God. Oh Jesus Christ. Completely off the rails here.
All right, but before we get too far off it, and before we run out, we got to touch on the NBA Finals. Game 6. It's the Game 6 now. I was having all kinds of people tell me would not happen. Me and you were both sitting there saying that's crazy to think that Jimmy can't win at least 2 games against this team. Yeah. And guess what? Here we are. Game 6 is going to happen, and if these Lakers aren't careful and Jimmy starts to feel himself a little bit, watch out. I'm not saying it. Like I said, I think there's only I think I said it last week. Yeah, there's only 4 teams in NBA history that ever come back from being down 2-0.
And you got to remember there's only one team that come back from 3-1 in NBA Finals history. It was LeBron's Cavaliers, and What's kind of funny to me is like how awesome would it be in like a sick, hilarious way for LeBron to have that shoved back at him where he gives up a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals and a team like the Heat comes back and wins it. Not only Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson got hot for them last night. One of their shooters got really hot, and if shooters, we know how these shooters are, get hot, stay hot for a couple games at a time. Guys like that are tough to defend when they're hot and they're able to knock down perimeter jump shots. Jimmy obviously has to be the guy carrying that team. He had another 30-point triple-double last night. He's phenomenal. But all of this is going to come down to Anthony Davis and his stats. He left that game, banged up, had the injury. How healthy is he going to be going into Game 6? I mean, if he's not healthy, that's a neutralizer in this series. It really is. Anthony Davis not being 100%.
Me and you already kind of talked about this. We thought that the identity of the Lakers was Anthony Davis. It's not LeBron. We already know what LeBron is, but he's been kind of the difference maker. The guy that kind of helps them change that pace up when they're on the bad side of a run. So I agree with you. If he's questionable or out for either one of the last 2 games, the Miami Heat might come back and steal this game, and oh man,
if it gets to Game 7, then all of a sudden you're in a position where it's almost like it's anything can happen, right? It's all hell could break loose once you get to Game 7. And I think Jimmy Butler is made for Game 7s. Guys like him with their mentality, they're made for Game 7. Like if this series gets to Game 7, I give advantage to the Heat. Because they've come back from 3-1. They've won 2 in a row. They can almost smell that, like now they're hungry. Like we're this close. What would be the point of coming back from 3-1 and getting it to Game 7 if you don't win it? And like now you got to go find a way to win it. Anthony, we talked about it all series. We talked about it before the series. Anthony Davis is the mismatch problem in this series that creates everything for Los Angeles. LeBron can be neutralized by Jimmy Butler. We've seen that. We've seen LeBron in previous series when Andre Iguodala was in his prime be able to neutralize him. So we know physical defenders like that can at least slow LeBron down. But Anthony Davis is enough of a mismatch problem where you can't overcome both of them. You know what I mean? It almost seemed like it was physically impossible for the Heat to be able to overcome both LeBron and AD. It's just too much of a mismatch problem with both of those guys. But taking AD out of it, or at least even if he plays and he's banged up and he's not 100% and he's much easier to defend now, it's a different series. It just is. It's a lot more of your focus now goes to LeBron defensively because he's going to be the guy trying to beat you.
Now the other side of this is, how bad is this going to burn? Is this going to sting if Jimmy Butler winds up winning the freaking championship the year after he leaves?
How much is going to sting who? The Sixers fans?
Yes.
I don't know if it should sting as much as it should just confirm what we already knew. I mean, why is Jimmy Butler not here? It's not like we as an organization didn't re-sign him. It's not like it's going to be a JT Realmuto situation where we just let him walk. The reason Jimmy Butler's not here is because Jimmy Butler identified that there was a weakness in this organization. Brett Brown wasn't able to hold people accountable. Ben Simmons didn't have the right attitude when it came to winning. This was Jimmy Butler's own words, by the way, on a podcast that he was on. So it's not like we're over here speculating. This is what he said. So if he was able to diagnose early on that, hey, there's just something missing with that team. They didn't have the competitive fire that was needed to be a winner. They didn't quite have the accountability at the coaching position to be a winner. So therefore, I couldn't sign there. I had to leave. Well, all that's telling me is, you know what? That's confirming everything that we've just seen happen. Brett Brown had to get fired. Doc Rivers had to be the guy to be hired because you had to hire a guy that was going to immediately walk into that building and players were going to look at them and there was going to be a different level of respect and accountability. And Doc Rivers is that guy. So I don't know if it stings for me as much as it just goes, okay, thank you. We should be thanking Jimmy Butler for exposing all of that and revealing what the issue really was. So now that we can at least try to fix it. It doesn't really bother me in that way. Dude, we've lived through Philly sports long enough where we've seen plenty of heartbreak. Things like this don't bother me, and I don't. It's just another one of those instances in Philly sports where you're like, this is why we can't have nice things. It's always us, right? It's always us.
Yeah. And one last thing before we bring Burt on here, he's sitting in the back. I know a lot of people are hammering LeBron this morning for giving Green the shot instead of taking it. I know I'm not that bad on him. I thought it was the right call. I know a lot of people are hammering him because this has kind of been his MO. He doesn't take the big shot. I know you're going to be one of them doing it. So
no, it's not that. I mean, because he always makes the right basketball play, and that's what he's trying to do there. But the problem is Danny Green has not been knocking down shots at all game, and he looked like a scared little girl. And when the lights were on him, he had to knock down that shot at the end. He looked like a scared little girl. So if that's a guy that you're going to give the final shot to, I mean, you're fine.
We're going to see.
I
think no matter what, I think the Heat take Game 6. Game 7 is really kind of a coin toss. We'll see what happens. But without any further ado, I'm going to bring our guest in. I'm going to bring my good friend, Mr. Burt Watson, on. Burt, how you doing, brother?
Man, I'm trying to make it, baby. How about yourself?
Hey, man, we're just hanging in there just another day, man. You know how it is. But, first off, Burt, really appreciate your time. Me and you we've been friends for some time now. You're one of these guys who all over combat sports. For people who don't know, you go back into the boxing days with Joe Frazier. He was involved in a lot of the early success in the UFC. Was also kind of also one of the guys behind the scene in some of the local scenes. Burt, you're kind of made of many hats. I really appreciate the time this afternoon.
Oh, I appreciate it. I can see you two guys. Can y'all see me? Because I can't see me.
Your cam's off. I don't know if that's
I
don't know what that is.
I was wondering.
Yeah, I think I don't know.
You gotta. Sometimes that happens with mine. I gotta switch it to the other cam. There's sometimes multiple camera options with your laptop or whatever you're using.
Wait, almost. That was one. That was switching it.
There we go.
I switched it.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's still.
I think it might. I think the cam might be off. If it's doing that.
Okay, let's try this. I'm not really sure. Shit, I'm
we can just do the audio. It's all right, man.
Yeah. I'm illiterate when it comes to this.
Oh man,
kind of stuff,
I remember when you launched your IG shows and you were sitting there having issues with that. So I know sometimes you kind of need some help with it. We all get a little technologically challenged at the time.
Well, I'm definitely technically challenged, but the camera's good. It should. I'm not real sure.
It's all right, bro. We can still do it with the audio. It's all right, man. We can get it figured out next time and get you squared up.
I was listening to you guys.
Yeah.
And was listening about what you guys were talking about last night and about the shot, and Jimmy Butler, my man there, was saying about homeboy looking like a little girl. Let me tell you something, baby. Sometimes when the lights go on, some people's lights go out. Okay? Plain and simple. All right. And the lights went on. Man, them lights went on for him last night, and they were bright. You know, LeBron took his best option. You know, when they threw that ball to LeBron, they collapsed on him, and he had about 3 or 4 guys around him. So his best option was to go, man, was to get that ball up, and he gave it up to probably to the only person he could see out of that cluster. But them lights got bright, homeboy's lights went out.
That's right, man. It's one of these things, Burt. We talk about it all the time, man. It doesn't matter if we're talking about MMA, football, whatever, man. Sometimes that pressure builds up and pressure bursts pipes and people break and crumble.
Yeah. That happens, but that happens in professional sports.
A lot.
Period. Across the board.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, pressure is pressure, baby. You know, and when it's game time, you know, not everybody throws the right punch or blocks the right punch, you know, or goes in there with a game heart. Sometimes they go in there with just a game face, you know, and I've seen it. I'm sorry y'all can't see my damn face right now. You know, because I dressed up for you, baby.
What you wearing for us? What do you got? You rocking one of your old school shirts? Burt, what you got?
Well, no, I got on my Burt watch and got my name. You know, only thing I got left is my name, baby. So I got to rock that. You know, I got to rock that name. And that's what I do, you know?
Yes. So how you been down there? Like, I know you're down there in Florida, if I remember correctly. How you doing down there? What are you getting into now?
Well, I was I'm in Philly because I live in Philly. You know, yeah, okay. I'm a hood rat, baby. I am never gonna leave Philly. Okay, but I did my first promotion down in Fort Lauderdale at the Hard Rock because I got a situation with those guys down there, so I did that down there. You know, I kind of found a home down there. You guys can't see me, right?
No, sir.
No.
Okay, so then I can take a drink. I got a shot. Oh, I see my man drinking something, but I'm drinking.
Okay. Hey, Burt, man, if you want to take a shot, take a smoke, whatever you want to do, my friend.
I got a shot of Grand Marnier here, and while we're talking, I'm still trying to get this thing here. Yeah, man. But so I got a connection with the Seminole Hard Rock down in Fort Lauderdale, and you know, it's crazy, man, because my first show was June 15th of last year. Year before. From that show, I got 3 dates. I got March 12th. We know what happened to that. I got June 12th. We know what happened to that. And then I had September 25th. We all know what happened to that. Okay? All of those dates I was sitting home with the COVID haircut. Okay? So, you know, the 3 dates that I had got canceled, and, you know, because of the COVID-19. So I fell in unfortunate times. You know, to have 3 dates canceled on you, man, that's a trip.
Rough. That's rough.
You know?
Yeah. I remember, like even bare knuckle boxing, they were even having problems too with it. They had, like, I think 3 or 4 show canceled before they finally started getting their feet back underneath them, and situations like that. Now we're starting to see some of the smaller local promotions finally starting to open back up, depending on what each state's governors are doing and what the regulations are. So people don't really understand how rough it is to be kind of a self-business owner in a time like this.
Well, let me say this about that, and bare knuckle boxing and the UFC. I'm sorry as hell y'all can't see me because I'm showing off over here, right? But you know what? My screen says you're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you. is what my screen says, but I guess I can. I'm still playing around with it. But anyway, back to that train of thought. What I was saying is that in today's world, the way it's happened is that bare knuckle boxing and the UFC both have landed, and PFL, they've all landed or got a hold of good TV deals or television deals or just a television deal. That's the only way that you can do or promote a show today is if you got a television deal, because your revenue is not dependent on asses in the seats. Yeah. And without that, no other regional promotion or no one else can promote an event, because you can't do it without asses in the seat. But then when you have a television deal, you can televise the event and put it on. Now, I can tell you, even though they televise those events and put them on and television is paying, you still got to pay the fighters. You still got to pay for travel. You still got to pay for hotel. You still got to pay for food. There's money being lost somewhere along the line.
Being lost. It is just flowing. It's. I mean, for people who really don't know, I mean, it's like when you have situations like this, it almost cripples promotions. So, and then not just that, then the fighter all the fighters who you had on there probably aren't going to stick around for that card. They're going to try to find the next available fight. And that's just the nature of the business. So, right, I mean, it puts you guys in the probably some of the weirdest situations you could be in. And it's, I wish all the best for you guys, because there's really no way to see what's going to be the end of this, when it's going to end, how everything's going to look afterwards. It's a rough time.
Well, I mean, based on what's happening right now and what I see and the way things are going, it's slowly, it's going to get back if most of your venues and people are willing to take risk and willing to take a shot at it and willing to pay the expenses. I'm a sports fan, period. I've been fortunate enough to have been mixed up in boxing and mixed martial arts for the past 30 some years or so, which is the shit that I know. And I can say shit because y'all can't see me, so it don't. Nobody can see me. So I just said shit, but I can see y'all. But the thing is that if you can't right now, the way things are is that these guys want to fight and need a fight. And the only time or person that can give them a fight are people that have the television deals. And it's really, if you got a UFC Fight Pass or DAZN or ESPN, you can give those guys fights. And you can survive. But if you don't have one of those deals, you can't. And then the venues right now are not letting people in, except for, like I said, I'm a sports fan. I looked at college football today. I don't think a lot of them thought COVID was happening. I saw one game that had, I think it was Texas I think it was A&M against somebody. They must have had 30,000 people in that stand.
Was that game in Texas or Florida?
It had to have been Florida.
It might have been down here in Florida, because we've opened everything up and they don't give a fuck anymore.
Hey! I don't think your governor gave a fuck from the beginning, because I don't think anything's been closed. Okay.
No, I live down here. It hadn't really been closed. You're right. Not really.
I don't think. But they say, and they say, they say that everybody very true that the fans are very far away from the football players. But professional football has showed that doesn't matter. because you got 5 teams on the shelf right now in professional football that have been shelved. So on a college level, they say, and they always tell you false shit, but they say that everybody that comes into that stand, fan or otherwise, was tested at least a week out and has to have a mask on. You know, and I believe in a mask, and I believe that we got to get back to business, you know, but I think that a lot of that is the effort fans that they've let in, you know, that effort, because with 20,000 people or whatever they have in those stands today, man, it's you would never know that something was going on, you know, and that's not at full capacity, but then that shows how much sports has affected our world and how much of an impact it has. And, you know, the only way it's going to get back to where it's supposed to is if people take a chance and they do it, you know, kind of on the F. Slowly, the way it probably should be, it's not going to happen for another 1.5 years or 2 years. Seriously. Because I can tell you, man, this is, and you guys are in, my man.
You know what it do is, like, you know, I mean, you don't know, but like, you know, most of us are doing this from home, and you know, prior to this, most of us were doing it in studio. So now, like, you know, we're doing it at home, so like we're affected by it, you know, just as much as everyone else. So it's like, you know, we had to change things, we had to do things on the fly too. So it's like, you know, everyone kind of infected by it in some way, shape, or form. So I mean, it's definitely one of these things, but man, if you say 2 years, don't say that, Burt, man. Like, it hurt my soul.
Well, it hurt your soul. Shit, let me tell you something, bro. This is what I do and why I do it.
Yes, sir. I know.
This is my life and my livelihood.
Yes, sir. I know.
You know, I create. I pull a plow. You know, I am the person that takes a show and puts it all together, every bit of it. So I'm just speaking on a real tip. Yeah. You know what the worst thing I can do, baby? The worst thing I can do is fighters are my children. And I love them. Boxers, MMA, and I, you know, I've somehow managed to get into that fraternity where I love them and they love me back. But the worst thing I could do is perpetrate and not tell them the real deal. Yeah. Or what I know is the real deal. Like I said to you guys, you know, and I said to my man, how sometimes the lights go on and some people's lights go out. When I'm standing in the holding area, I'm looking dead square in the fighter's eye. And I know to tell him, listen, man, I need you to take a deep breath. I need you to fucking breathe. You know, and I need you to step back for a minute because you can't take that, what I see in your eye, past me. And I can't tell you how many times I've said that to a fighter. And you know what? It hits them, and they pick that shit up. I just told them, hey, man, you giving me a wuss, and I'm seeing your ass on the floor. You better pick it up before you go out there and leave your ass in that cage. Okay? So when I say to you, about a year or two, I'm going on, I coordinate and put this stuff together. So I know what it takes to get people on a plane. I know what it takes to get people in a hotel, to get meals for them, to get workout gears, to get spaces, to get rooms. So when I tell you what I think is because I'm looking a little past just opening the door, selling the ticket, and bringing somebody in to watch a fight.
Absolutely.
So, you know,
here's the thing, like, you know, you're a guy who kind of organizes everything, and like you said, we're already seeing 5 NFL teams on the shelf right now.
Yes.
Don't you think, you know, the NFL's kind of been slightly arrogant about things and probably should have bubbled the teams from the get-go?
Totally. And I can't get in trouble for saying that because that's not my business. So, So I'm talking.
We know the players feel that way. You know, Darius Slay right here in Philadelphia said they shouldn't have even did a season this year. So
let's go on record as a fan. I'm a fan. I'm speaking as a fan right now. Okay, as a fan, you know, we already know how the bubble worked, how it has worked, how it has, and I always had in my head when this started happening, like anything, you know, in my head. I'm putting aside NFL and the other sports. In my head, in our world, in MMA, I said to myself, man, how the hell are these guys going to get from one city to another city? What if that airport doesn't let that guy on? What's the likelihood of that guy walking through that airport, going in that bathroom, doing whatever, or going to get something and contracting it from somebody? So that's not even on an NFL or major or baseball level.
Yeah.
These guys go from city to city and let young guys your age in a city and tell you got to lock up in a hotel room and trust you. Yeah, okay. But if I bring you to a hotel and I put you in your room, and I know you're in your room, and I know you can't go but from your room to my office, I'm good. But to trust you guys when them lights go out, to stay in your room and not do, So with football and baseball, because they go from city to city, and you know what? They got 100% that they need to be safe and healthy. And 50% of that is trust that those guys are going to do the right thing. And obviously, it hasn't happened.
Well, you talked about the college game earlier, the Florida Texas A&M. First of all, how about the upset? Texas A&M beat number 4 Florida 41-38 in that game.
Beat the crap out of them.
How about that? How about that? And then Missouri beat LSU. So we got some crazy shit going on in college football. So I know, crazy shit going on in college football today.
Missouri beat LSU. They did it in the last couple of minutes, or the last minute, right?
Missouri beat LSU late, yeah, and then apparently Florida lost to Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M beat Florida, but the last people, like the point I was trying to make with that was you talk about the people, you know, the capacity and the amount of people there. I wonder how many of them were actually college age kids, because let's be honest, they think they're invincible. None of them are going to follow the rules of anybody. So if you're telling them they got to wear a mask, they got to be 6 feet apart, whatever, they ain't following shit. And the idea of 20,000 college kids packed into this stadium probably isn't a good thing for anybody involved.
You know what? I think they followed the rules for the first week. Just like, and I'm saying to you kids, because I'm looking at both of y'all kids. I'm 71 years old, bruh. Shit. I'm as old as your grandpop or your pop. They probably followed the rules for the first week. Okay? And then after the first week, then it was out the window. It was like, you know what? Okay, we got away with that. Now let's just let it go. All willy-nilly. And you know what? And I understand, but what I don't understand is why they don't understand. You know, it's like, you know, you said this is an adult show, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. It's like your old man or whoever used to tell you to strap up. You knew what the hell that meant. You knew damn well if you didn't strap up, you was taking a chance. And very few times you wanted to take that chance. So you strapped up. That's the same thing today. It's like that we're telling the kids, y'all got to strap up. So you gotta, you know, you got, like I said, with those football teams, you got 100% that need to be healthy. You got 50-50, because you got 50% that the teams are probably trying to do the right things and the organizations, and then the other 50% they rely on those players going along with the rules. And you know what? Unless you put them MFs in a bubble and watch them and don't let them out, They let Lou Williams out, and he went someplace to get chicken. Okay, in a strip club, they let him out to go to his grandpa's funeral, and he went to get chicken. Okay, as simple as that was, but you know you can't do that, man, and that's just you know, relying on these guys to do the right thing and not get out there. That's not gonna happen.
He's trying.
Man, you see me trying.
Yes, sir.
But let me say something to you. I'll tell you what this is, because yours is the second interview I've done today.
Yeah.
And this camera's okay. I did one on Zoom, and I did an MMA Junkie, which is on stream, which is the same. And so I know. You know, somebody said the bubble food sounds horrendous. If Louis will leave him for some chicken wings, it wasn't chicken wings he was chasing, baby. Trust me.
He was chasing some peaches. He wasn't chasing them wings.
It's like the Rock used to say, we're chasing, you know, when he used to talk about pie. We're talking about Poo-Tang pie, baby.
Wait a minute now. That's an old school word, man. How the hell you know that word?
Hey, man.
Yeah. You'd be surprised at things I know.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it's definitely been crazy. You know, bubble stuff, all that stuff put aside, but when we got it, it's rough. So
it is what it is. I mean, it's
looks like we got Eldra here.
Huh?
Our first guest looks like he's here right now. So looks like a time zone thing.
Okay.
But let me.
Ooh, that's a touchdown.
Who's a touchdown? You a touchdown?
Oh, no, he's watching football.
I'm watching Tennessee, Georgia.
All right, I'm gonna just bring Eldra on and let's just kind of have this thing going, have some fun.
Hey, here we go.
Damn, I'm the only
guy that knows about touchdowns, right? This guy here knows about touchdowns.
Y'all can't see me, and you can't see me, and his shit's upside down.
All right, Eldra, we're actually being joined. We're also on here with Burt Watson. So try it one more time. I think we'll be all right. There we go, right there. Up there.
Don't worry about it, baby. They can't even see me, so you doing good. They can't even see me, and I dressed up for this, and they got but my bad. If I knew, how to fix this, I would.
All right, Burt. I guess we'll wrap it up with you, and we're gonna have a conversation with Eldra here. Okay,
baby. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you know what I normally do? Kind of throw the proverbial microphone over there to you. Anything you'd like to say? Anything you're working on, charities you're working with, etc. The time is yours, man.
Well, I just like to let everybody know that I now have a YouTube page, and if you just kind of go to Burt Watson Promotions, click on, make sure you subscribe. You got some lessons, you got some videos, you got some chatter, everything. But make sure you go to Burt Watson Promotions YouTube page, baby.
Absolutely, Burt. I'll shoot it out on my social medias after we get done today, man. Give you
Please do. Appreciate you, baby. Thanks.
Always. Have a good one. All right, everyone. That was the one and only Burt Watson. Little adjustment here, as now we are being joined by our next guest of the afternoon, former Eagles running back Eldra Buckley. Eldra, how are we doing this afternoon, man?
I'm doing good, man. How y'all doing?
We're doing good. We just got done talking with Burt about some football, some fighting, all kinds of fun stuff. So let me get talking to you, man. Obviously, we had you on during the draft. Had some little fun during that. We're about 4 or 5 weeks into the season. It's definitely an interesting time, man. COVID's got a couple teams on the shelves. Got some key players out. Injuries have been playing a big part of it. What are your thoughts on what's been going on? Do you feel like they should have really did a bubble and kind of did away with a lot of this nonsense that's been happening due to COVID?
Nah, not really. I think they should. I mean, I don't feel like that's the problem with the Eagles, if you ask.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying with the NFL. We can get to the Eagles in a second.
They got a whole other list of issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a financial thing. I mean, they're not going to shut down this game. I mean, it's people depending on it. It's just a way of life now. So I mean, of course, if you can go to the store, they're going to be able to play football. Trust me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. But as we're talking about the Eagles, me and Zach took some exceptions to some things that happened last week. What are your thoughts on the end of the fourth quarter of that Eagles game? They don't have Miles Sanders in there. Coach Doug Peterson's going out there saying that it was the certain package that they were in for short down and kind of close game situations. Do you think it's kind of a cop out, or do you feel like they was just kind of feeling like maybe Miles was tired, or they were worried about a fumble there?
I can understand you, man. You were breaking up. Which game?
About the Eagles San Francisco game. They didn't really let Miles in at the end. Coach Peterson was basically saying that it was the package, that it was Corey's time, not to be in when they were trying to close that game out against San Francisco last week.
My thing is, like I've been saying, man, we need a two-back system is always good. You know what I mean? Like Miles told enough load of the load, so to be able to have somebody else take it off him is always a plus. You know what I mean? So I think they made a good call. Just giving him a break. I mean, you can't. I mean, he's a good back. You can't run him into.
Yeah, I know you can't run the tires off of the tread off the tires before you even get to the postseason. I know what you're saying, man.
I mean, like I said, man, we gotta do running back by committee. That's when we won the championship. That's what we had. We gotta get back to that.
I mean, do you think that was one of the things? Like, a lot of the fans here have been clamoring for to kind of have a hammer here, and they didn't really kind of replace LeGarrette Blount when he left. When he left, they replaced him with Jordan last season. So now this season, we don't kind of have that guy that can give you them yards in between the tackles.
Well, I can't. I mean, you're breaking up.
It's one of those things. They don't have the record ball. They don't have the hammer. Am I breaking up still?
I'm not sure who it is. I'm not sure who's the one that's breaking up or what's causing it. Hold on.
Let's see if you can get this one across.
All right. Well, I'll say that because Steven's trying to ask. He said the past 2 years. Maybe it's me. The past 2 years, we've had a guy that can run between the tackles. Right now, we can't. And Corey Clement, for me, isn't that guy. I mean, I'd rather have you out there in the 4-minute situation than Corey Clement. I mean, let's be honest here. That's my only problem with it is they put Corey Clement in. I'd rather have a legitimate number 2 option if we're taking Miles off the field.
He's still can't.
I don't think it's helping. Something's going on connection-wise here.
Gotta mute mic, unmute mic. I think it's his.
Yeah, I don't know. We're definitely having problems.
He just froze up.
Connection. Yeah, I believe it has to be him.
The beauty of technology, my friend.
Quarantine, these pandemic times, and it's trying to live stream and everything. It's first time we've had an issue like this. I'm surprised we haven't had an issue like this before.
Oh man, literally, really.
Whoever said the Eagles will defeat the Steelers is a sick individual. That's facts. Okay. I don't know, Steven. I actually like his point. What he said about I think we're both in agreement about Miles. We're cool with the idea of needing to spell Miles and needing to have a legitimate number 2 option. I think our problem is more the fact that it's Corey Clement or Boston Scott that has to be the guy he's getting spelled with.
But it's more along the things that they should have already he kind of said it like he think it's a cap thing. We don't have the money to address it because it's a mess.
I mean, okay. I mean, how much did Adrian Peterson cost for the Lions to sign? How much did Leonard Fournette really cost for the Bucs to sign? I mean, this idea that we couldn't actually sign a guy like that if we really wanted to,
Yeah.
is a little bit crazy to me. Like I'm just saying, if we're only committing to running Miles Sanders 18 times, what's stopping us from signing Adrian Peterson and letting him split the carries 50-50 at this point? Fuck it. That makes Miles a much more effective weapon in the passing game at that point. Or what's to say you couldn't sign Leonard Fournette? The same thing.
And that it just presents other matchup problems that you can have because you can put them in the two-back set and then move Miles out. Then are they passing the ball? Are they running the ball? And then you mix it in with some RPO, some play action pass. And you start opening things up. When you have lack of weapons in those positions, it's going to make you even more predictable. Okay, we can take away Miles Sanders. We can take away Zach Ertz. You have to beat us over the top with whoever your wide receivers are.
Yeah, I mean that's more the thing for me. I mean, I look at the money Peterson signed for with Detroit. You tell me he'd rather play in Detroit than Philly? I doubt that. You know what I'm saying? Leonard Fournette, maybe he would have signed with the Bucs all along because less money, but play with a team like Tampa. You think okay, maybe that wasn't an option. But I'm just saying, for me, the idea of the money, it's not like we were talking about spending $5-10 million on a guy. Like there's a couple $1 million you're signing one of those guys to a deal, and neither one of them needs to carry the ball 20 times for you, but they're just at least somebody that's there that you can count on, that you're like, yeah, I trust this guy on 2nd and 2 or 3rd and 2. Maybe, when we don't want to run Sanders there, you're telling me having a guy like Leonard Fournette or Adrian Peterson or a back like that in the game on 3rd and 1 where now Carson can also sneak it. There's a lot of different things going on there is a lot more of a productive way to go than having Sanders or Boston Scott or Clement. I'm cool with Sanders in any situation, but the minute he comes off the field and Corey Clement or Boston Scott goes in, you've got to think as a defense, it's almost like like you're like right now you're immediately focusing on the fact that either they're going some other direction that isn't one of those two guys, and we're going to focus our attention somewhere else because we trust our front seven to take care of business if one of those two guys has the football, or they've got something scouted out because they know if one of those two guys is coming into the game, there's a specific package, a specific play, something the Eagles are trying to do, and the defense has it scouted pretty well. There's just such a severe drop-off from Miles Sanders to your second running back that I just don't know if it makes any sense, like to even run those guys out there at this point. Like to sit there and say, oh, well, we were going to run Corey Clement in that system, as if Corey Clement's even anywhere near, like Corey Clement's not even considered competent when you're comparing him to Miles Sanders. He's not even average. The idea that we're trying to run them in the same packages with the same plays is crazy to me. Corey Clement can't do what Miles Sanders can. So why would you think we're going to run him in a similar package and similar plays and expect similar results?
Yeah, there's one for you.
Jalen Hurts coming in on 3rd and long. They haven't even trusted Jalen. Jalen Hurts has had 2 fucking fumbles on he couldn't handle a snap and he couldn't do a read option play correctly. And they clearly haven't trusted him to throw the football because they haven't called the single play that's designed for him to throw the ball down the field. Everything is either handed off to the running back or take off with it and run with it on a read option. The one play they designed that was supposed to be the pass was the trick play where he's supposed to throw it back across the field to Wentz. But I don't even know if I count that because it's not like he's trying to throw the ball down the field 10, 15, 20 yards. Jalen Hurts on 3rd and long does me no fucking good. 3rd and 2, I like the idea of Jalen Hurts on the field, but not 3rd and long.
The problem is that they haven't really been in short yardages a whole lot this season, so we haven't really gotten a chance to really kind of take a look at that. I don't even know what's going to be able to work out with how the offensive line is and everything else, and not being able to kind of get some of those things working with the receiver core and everything like that because of you're having your turnover from this guy to this guy to that guy.
I'd rather line up, this idea of Jalen have to always line up at quarterback. I'd rather sneak him onto the field, let him line up at running back, receiver, and be creative with different, there's different ways to get the ball into his hands behind the line of scrimmage and then allow him to throw it. Yeah, I think the problem might be more they just don't trust him to throw.
Maybe like have him back there, direct snap that's looking like it's going to be a sweep, and just having it designed where there's a guy on the back end of the player, you just throw a bomb, Do something. Do something where it's not just it's one of the things where we need to see that more of an aggressive Doug that we used to see. I hope we start
get creative with me. I mean, listen, why couldn't you put Greg Ward, Jalen Hurts, and Carson all on the field at the same time? You got 3 different guys that can throw the football, and you're telling me you can't draw up something creative and something new and something fresh that somehow gets the ball in the one of their – even if it's Carson lining up at receiver and somehow the ball ends up in his hands behind the line of scrimmage and he's launching something downfield. I mean, give me something that's creative and fresh, and you're like, ooh, that was pretty tight. What did they just do there? Like, where was that? Like, where did he pull that from?
I definitely feel you on that one.
I watch Andy Reid call plays with the Chiefs, and yes, I know they've got all that talent, and it allows you to be creative. But once you have those playmakers on the field, one thing Andy Reid does really well is gets fucking creative. How many different ways do they get the ball in Tyreek Hill's hands? How many different things do they do with guys? You know, we don't do any of that, and it's one thing when we didn't have guys to do it with, but I think we've seen, like, you know, is Greg Ward a superstar? No, but the fact that he can throw the ball, there's a lot of dual threat there and stuff like that. Like, if you're lacking weapons, what do? You find ways to utilize the weapons that you have, and the creativity with guys like that can be better. And it just hasn't been. You know, I don't want to rip Doug too much because honestly, I liked his. Everything about it in the San Francisco game, I thought that was his best game this year so far from a game plan perspective, and then sticking to that game plan, and then also his play calling throughout. Specifically the first half, I really thought there was a lot of solid play calling. Now, we got away with it, but there was a couple head scratchers, and by a couple I mean 4 or 5, at certain points late in the second half of that game that I thought helped San Francisco make that a closer game than it should have been. And maybe that's just Doug being Doug. You know, he kind of gets out there a little bit. But I thought in general, when we were in the heart of the game and we needed to execute, I thought he did a very good job of sticking to the game plan, attacking the defense with designs and play concepts and things that were going to work for us offensively. And when things were working, he tried to stick to it. Or if something was, hey, this was the plan all along. He didn't try to get away from it just because maybe something else was there. He stuck to his guns, and I thought there was great balance throughout. Carson, for the first time all year, we weren't screaming, oh, he's throwing the ball too much. He threw the ball 28 times, and he was effective with a lot of that. And the Fulgham play obviously helped down the field. But I don't think Carson throwing the ball 45 times a game is a winning formula. Obviously, there's some weeks we want that to happen.
He would be throwing the ball more than 35 at the most. 35 times.
Listen, and we talk about this.
The absolute max he throws.
We talk about this. There's certain times, there's certain weeks where you do want that. Maybe you have a great matchup. You think you can exploit other teams' defenses. Fine, you roll with it. But the first couple weeks of this year, there was unacceptable. The Redskins game, the Washington football team. The first game, it was unacceptable how much they had. We went up 17-0 in that game, and then Carson just threw the ball over 40 times, and we only ran the ball 18. That just something wasn't right there. The Bengals game, same thing. Miles Sanders, and he's killing the Bengals defense. He could have just kept milking clock, running them down, killing their energy and just wearing that defense down. And instead, you go back to trying to throw the ball. I think we did a great job of taking the shots when we needed to, but at the same time sticking to the things we wanted to do offensively. The only thing I didn't like, we've talked about, is the 4-minute play or the 4-minute plan, which. Whatever it is, whether it's Doug, whether it's Sanders, whether it's a combination of things, that's my only complaint.
Jim Schwartz and his defense do this before. Where they look like he's like pitching a perfect game, and then all of a sudden he just lets the wheels fall off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much. I agree with you. That's happened enough in the past, but I don't know if that was necessarily the problem in this one. I mean, they made the QB change. They made the QB change. Anytime you make a QB change, it's almost like, offensively, there's just a little bit more energy. Like, hey, this guy's been stinking it up all night. Give me something fresh. Receivers are like, hey, this dude's been, he's been sucking it up so bad. Can you at least give me something fresh? Give me a chance.
Butler didn't do great against us last time he played. Butler didn't play great against us last time he played us either. He tore us up.
It's. I thought we did a great job keeping Jared McKinnon was the guy I thought we were going to have to worry about. And I said, we don't, with Mullins being what he is, I don't need McKinnon going off for 150 plus yards from scrimmage on us. I thought we did a pretty good job.
I didn't get a chance to ask you now that TJ Edwards is out, do we need to see Davion Taylor in the rotation?
I don't know if we're seeing Davion Taylor. We got the Sean Bradley, the young kid from Temple, that apparently, at least from what we've read, or at least the things I've read, apparently he was impressing teammates and coaches were loving that kid in camp. Forget about what beat reporters think. Their opinion's a dime a dozen. I could take dumps, after this show that are probably worth more than some of those beat reporters' opinions. But when other players on the defense, when guys like Fletcher Cox and those defensive leaders are like, hey man, this kid's killing it. We like this kid. Hey, get him on the field. That makes me a little bit excited because players usually can tell whether whether a guy, especially veteran players, they can tell whether a young player has it or whether he doesn't. You know what I mean? They can tell, hey, this kid's just got something. You got to get him out there. We talk about Davion Taylor's just raw. Maybe he doesn't understand, the game quite yet, but he's just super athletic. Maybe Bradley's the complete other way, and he's just one of those guys where he maybe doesn't have the most, the most athleticism, the best skill, but he's just a football player. And some guys are just football players, right? And you just get them out there, and that's what they are. They're football players, and they find a way to make plays for you. Hell, listen, at this point, forget about TJ Edwards. Just develop with Nate Gary after the fact that he stinks and the guy fucking can't stop a nosebleed, for God's sakes. But now we just got revealed that he's dropping the N-word on Twitter and shit. Like, I'll cut this guy. Listen, I said this about Riley Cooper. I'm going to stay consistent. Okay, cut his ass. You're not a good enough football player to get away with shit like this. When you're a good football player, sometimes exceptions get made and things happen that otherwise wouldn't. When you stink, when was that comment you do shit like this, get the fuck out.
I'm gonna say this. When was that comment made? Was that recent?
It wasn't. It was from 2012. Apparently, he was in high school at the time. I don't listen. We were all dumb in high school. We were dumb in high school. You know what I wasn't dumb enough to do in high school was post it on social media. Okay, no matter what stupid shit I might be saying, I'm not posting it on social media.
What was the awareness of what you were supposed to be posting on social media made hyper?
I'll say that you should never post the N-word on social media.
You're absolutely right.
Let's start there. And the fact that he's that stupid and you suck ass as a football player,
because I'm sure he's getting enough. But you have a point where the fact that once you became an athlete, you should have went back into your social media accounts and deleted all of it. First and foremost,
or I'm getting out ahead of it and saying, listen, there's things on my social media accounts that I'm not proud of.
I said some things when I was young.
I'm not waiting for somebody to dig it up because people are going to dig it up.
Yeah,
they're going to dig it up.
I would be on the point where you're not good enough player to kind of have this kind of thing.
And listen, as unfair as that is, that's the way this business works. When you're a great player, exceptions get made. When you suck ass, these things get you cut. And I would cut his ass just to make a fucking point that it's not okay. But what's weird about that is we didn't do that with Riley Cooper, so I don't know why we would start that whole fucking thing now because we had a chance to do that then and we didn't. Speaking of guys who suck ass,
Cooper was the one who
should have made a statement.
He's the one that should have been cut for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I said that then, and I said, listen, I'm cutting the guy. Not tomorrow, not in a week, not after I do an investigation. Like, I'm on the phone if I'm Jeffrey Lurie with that guy now, and I'm cutting it. At least I might bring Nate Gary into my office and be like, what's the deal here? Explain to me, was it music quotes when I've heard shit like that because they've done this with athletes in the past? But my problem with it is it just shows a severe lack. Like, we were all stupid. We all said stupid shit with our stupid friends when we were 16 and we were hanging out and we were at parties and we were doing our stupid shit that we did as teenagers. You all said stupid shit when you were with your friends. But we also, at least I think my group of friends is also aware, like, hey, like, we're also smart enough to realize just because we said that with each other and we think it's funny doesn't mean it's acceptable to say that anywhere else or go post that on social media or say that in school or say that when you're at your job or things like that because you understand that there's consequences to that shit. And it shows a severe lack of judgment for him to just think it was okay enough to do it then. And the fact that you suck ass as a football player now, it's just one of those things you put it all together and it equals, as an organization, certain things you just draw a line in the sand and you say, this is unacceptable. It just is, and this is one of those times you have a perfect chance to do that. Why? Nobody's going to miss Nate Gary. I don't think anybody on that defense is going to miss him. It's not like Fletcher Cox is like, oh, man, but that guy could play. Fletcher Cox thinks he sucks as much ass as me and you. So let's be honest. I'd rather see Davion Taylor on the field and go through his growing pains and son. Hell, I mean, we talked about like Nate Gary. He was in coverage 10 times throughout the course of this year so far, and he's allowed 10 receptions. And so that's 100%. Every time he's been in coverage, somebody's completed a pass against this fool. Hell, even if Davion Taylor can't do any better than that, but like literally. Statistically, he can't do any worse. Like, even if he can't do better, the best he can do is just as bad. He actually can't do any worse than Nate Gary's doing for me. So, fuck it. Cut the guy.
I'm not one for losing his job on something you did so long ago, but if it happens, it happens. But what I do want to get into is here we go. NLDS, ALDS is here, and we have 3 teams who haven't lost a game yet.
The Marlins they finally lost a postseason series, so we don't have to talk about them being one of them.
Alluded to before we got on air, his Astros prediction is starting to become a reality because he is going against the Tampa Bay Rays for his pick.
I would love to see the Astros piss off baseball purists around the country. I mean, my big thing, and you could go and see this all on social media, when it was all breaking. I think, when one team does something, from a cheating perspective to try to get an edge, as soon as they do it, the other teams are doing it too. Some teams do it better than others. Some teams get away with it better than others. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's something that I would like to see in the game. I'm not saying it's something that I like is in the game. I'm just saying it's the fact of the matter at hand here. The Astros weren't the only team doing it, but they were winning and they were successful. And when you're successful, people try to knock you off your pedestal. But it's just funny to me that they're right back in the same position they were last year. And we talk about, they were cheating. It's easy to win when you're cheating. Well, what's the excuse this year? They're just fucking good. It's like, I think, yes, were they cheating? Sure. Should they have been punished? Sure. But the idea that that's what was leading to their success is overblown. You know what I mean? I really think that, and that's the truth in professional sports in general when we're talking about players or teams trying to get an edge.
To their direct success, I thought it just got them over the hump. But
when did it get them over the hump? They didn't even win it last year.
Zach's about 14 games or so away from proving that theory wrong.
Yeah, I
know. Obviously, they have to play the Rays. But what do you think about LA? What do you think of Atlanta? Do either one of them have a chance of bringing home the World Series this season?
Oh yeah, I think the World Series, whatever the matchup is going to be a hell of a World Series. It's going to be a great matchup. I think finally, you look at it and last year I was excited about that matchup. I thought it was 2 really good teams, but it seems like things have been a little lopsided in the years previous. You could find a even when it was Astros Dodgers the year before that, the Dodgers, we know what they do. Dave Roberts gets outmanaged in the World Series. It seems like every time they go, he finds a way to make 1 or 2 mistakes. And I think the Dodgers, we've seen what they are. They're the same team that they were past couple times they've been. They're beatable. Yes, they have a lot of talent. Yes, they've got guys, at different positions, the sexy names, the Kershaws and all that, but they're beatable. You can expose them in different areas and teams know how to do it because
he was 5 years ago. That's for starters. Clayton Kershaw ain't the guy he was 5 years ago.
No, and even 5 years ago he couldn't win in the postseason. So, but my point is, they might have different names, but the style of ball they play is the same as it was in 2017, 2016, all that. Teams have the formula for what they have to do to try to beat LA. The Rays, I think, they've continued to build over the past few years. They're kind of creating their own model for this is what, it's funny. I live down here in the Tampa area, and I've heard a term that I didn't hear up in the Northeast that I hear a ton down here, and they're calling it the Rays way. And, Tampa does this better than almost any organization in baseball. Somebody put out there that they have a payroll that was 23% of what the Yankees payroll was or something like that, yet they beat the Yankees, right? This is what they do. They find a way to spend, the minimal amount of money, but they always have the right guys in the right positions, hitting in the right spots in the lineup, and they get production out of guys that it seems like either came up through their system or they found in other systems and they get more out of than other teams could have.
And to your point, that goes back to the 07, the 08 team that upset Boston and had to play the Phillies in the World Series.
It all started with Joe Madden. Joe Madden started that whole thing there with them, and they've kind of built off of that. And we can make fun of analytics all we want. If you do it right, it's very successful in baseball. I'm not going to argue with the success the Rays have.
When analytics is not the golden rule, and it's kind of used sporadically for some decisions.
When it's used as a way to find what are the ways that we can exploit our opponents and win baseball games, and literally like that's like we can both sit here and understanding technology enough to sit here and say that that's what data is created for, right? Data helps you understand. Oh, look, my opponent's weak at this. Let me exploit that. But when you're sitting on the bench and you're letting a computer make your sideline, make your lineup for you, or when you're sitting on the bench and you're letting percentages and a computer tell you to make this pitching change or that one, I think that's complete overkill. But I think I said this. That's why I said when Kapler was here. I hate the idea of it trickling down from the front office into the dugout has become a very fine line, and I think that's where teams struggle. Teams like the Rays have been good at it because they found a way to identify weaknesses in players and strengths in players by looking at their analytical data and all that. They don't let it dictate how they manage a game per se, but they understand how to find flaws.
Rules where it works.
Right. They still let the game be what it is, and the game has to breathe, and you have to manage the game based on what's going on in the game at that very moment. But their ability to find players from other organizations that weren't working out in that organization and then bring them in and find a way to get the most out of them in their organization and get them to be more productive than they've ever been at any point in their career, there's a science to that. That's not just a coincidence or luck or anything like that. There's a science to that. That's an ability in their scouting department to be able to identify weaknesses in certain players and say, hey, if we're able to fix this, he has the ability to become this as a player. And then they attack that as a coaching staff and they make these guys better and they get the most out of them. We don't do that. Let's just be honest. We don't do that in baseball. We don't do that in any of our sports, it seems like, very well, of being able to identify weaknesses in our players and then the ability, what do we have to do to make this player better? And then as a coaching staff or as an organization, actually getting that player to improve in that area.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not going to be improving anything for Philadelphia. There's probably a good possibility that Didi Gregorius is going to go, that JT Realmuto is going to go.
JT Realmuto's gone. I'll say this right now. People that want to hold their breath and think we're re-signing JT Realmuto, he is gone. Gone, like Gone, gone. Like, it's set in stone. Middleton comes out and says that nonsense. We would love to re-sign JT. We just don't know if the financial situation will work out. What the fuck's that supposed to mean? You're the financial situation, John. Come on, Johnny boy. The finances are your department here, bro. Go sell a couple more cigars or something. It's your decision to go over the luxury tax. We found out. Yeah, you'll spend money as long as it means you don't have to lose money in the process. So that you're nothing to me. Fuck you. Your stupid money, your spend stupid money quote was bullshit. Bullshit. That's all it was. And I heard Bryce Harper comes out and gets pissed off publicly. I want to see Bryce Harper come out and rip the organization when it happens. I demanded JT get re-signed. That was part of the agreement when I signed here.
He basically already done that with the campaign he's already laid out without saying it.
He's tried to do it as nicely as he possibly can. It might not be so nice anymore, once these things and can you blame Bryce for if he would have come out and say, listen, I signed here with this idea. I was fed this idea that we were going to, continue to add talent, continue to spend money, Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, Todd, our last 3 drafts are bullshit. And when you can't develop talent, then we talked about the Rays. Let's talk about the Braves for a moment. The other team that will absolutely, if they go and win the World Series, it'll drive. You talk about Jimmy Butler. The Braves winning the World Series will make Philadelphia fans sick too. But look at what they do. Talk about scouting departments. They develop talent from within. Acuna's fucking dirty. Dansby Swanson's fucking dirty. They've got pitching on that team that's fucking dirty. And then you want to talk about guys like Travis d'Arnaud, who has been an absolute scrub everywhere he's ever been, and all of a sudden they bring him in there, and You talk about just like with the Rays, they find a way to improve. What was this guy's weakness? They find out, they attack it, they improve it, and they turn him into the best player he's ever been at any point in his career. He's literally, he's the postseason hero right now, for God's sakes. This is what good organizations do, and we're not one of them. We used to be that. We used to do that with guys like Jason Worth and Shane Victorino, taken from other organizations, find these diamonds in the rough that didn't work out there, and all of a sudden they become essential pieces and big-time parts of our championship team. That's what good organizations do. And, right now, we're not that, especially from the baseball perspective. But
we're not even a fair, or it's just downright putrid.
No, but I would love the model. I would love the model like what the Braves do and say, let's try to be that. I don't think it's realistic to try to do what the Rays are doing, because the Rays, I think, have created their own science. Good for them. They do their own thing. That's why they're so successful. But I think you could definitely look at what the Braves have done and say, why can't we be them? Draft like them, develop talent like them, sign international talent like them. When was the last time we signed an international talent that was worth a damn? I can't even remember the last time we've had an international talent on the roster that was worth the fucking, price of admission for a ticket. We don't have any of that.
Scout, they can't draft, they can't develop, they can't do anything.
None of it.
I would take one of the three.
Develop. To be honest, I would too.
Any one of it to be moderately approved.
Even if you can't draft worth a damn, at least you can develop talent. You can find players from other organizations that you could bring in and say he didn't work out there. Let's fix him.
The Eagles is a quarterback factory. How many times has somebody traded for one of our quarterbacks outside of Nick Foles?
Yeah, but what's a great comparison, and we rip Howie Roseman for his drafting ability.
Nick walked. I'm sorry. Let me stand corrected.
We ripped Howie Roseman for his drafting ability, but what's one thing that Howie's made up for with this drafting ability, which has sucked? He can't draft worth a damn. He drafts J.J. Arcega-Whiteside instead of DK Metcalf, yet he goes out and he finds a Greg Ward or Travis Fulgham from somebody else's organization and brings him into our practice squad. And somehow Greg Ward's our best receiver, a guy we didn't even draft, a guy that wasn't even supposed to be anything, but now here he is that guy. At least the one thing that Howie's been able to do well, or at least somewhat well, is salvage pieces from other organizations and then turn them at least into something for us with the Eagles. Maybe it's just more because we don't have anybody else, so that guy has to make some plays for us because there's nobody else out there to make plays. But still, at least we've been able to do that. We can't do that with the Phillies. The Phillies haven't been able to do that. We saw that stat where the only team with a longer drought was the Mariners.
That you were able to find, draft, cultivate, build up, getting ready to get here, and you trade him away for JT. And he's doing what? Did 6-0 not have a good?
He did. But I'll say something like this. I know somebody that works in the Phillies organization down here in Clearwater. I umpire with him. I don't want to get too much into his role with it because I don't know if I'm allowed to. But he works for the organization down here in Clearwater at their spring training complex. And I talked to him about the Sixto Sanchez thing. I said, what's the deal with that? Now, this tells me a lot about the organization in some ways, which we talk about with the talent development and all that. He said Sixto needed a change of scenery in order to be successful. He said one of the things that all the minor league staff would get on him about down here with the Phillies organization was apparently his conditioning. He wouldn't condition himself. He wouldn't stay in the best of shape. And they would always get on him about it, but he would never really do anything to improve it. Then all of a sudden he gets to the Marlins organization after the trade and he improves his conditioning and he becomes the pitcher that everybody knew he could be if he would just improve that conditioning a little bit. Well, what the hell did the Marlins organization, what do they have in their organization where they were able to get that out of him that we couldn't, that they could motivate him to say, hey, do this extra little thing to get yourself in a little extra better shape because it'll make you that much better of a pitcher. What do they do that we can't? Those are the things I don't understand. We can sit here and we can talk about the talent all we want, but there's more to it than that at times too. It's not that just, we don't know how to draft. Some of those guys are talented and we just didn't know how to develop the talent. And we see that because they go to other organizations and, at least they have the ability to be, productive players for guys.
It's rough, man. It's really rough watching what's going on with this team. But
Anthony does make a good point.
I think we're going to wind up having an Atlanta-Houston World Series.
It would be fun.
I think Atlanta is able to put away the Dodgers in 6 games.
To be honest, I'm not really rooting for either team, but like the Dodgers,
I think how everything's playing out, the way the Dodgers season has played out, everything. I just see Atlanta coming out on top.
I think baseball would rather see it be Houston, LA. Yeah. Houston, LA, because they have their 2 bigger markets.
Yep.
Right. And they know for a fact, as good of a team as Tampa is, like nobody down here gives a fuck. People would rather sit on their couch in their air conditioning and watch the Rays play down here where I'm at than they actually would travel 20 minutes to go to the game. I mean, this is how bad it is. I can go to the local 7-Eleven on Friday nights. At least last year I could. This all got fucked up with the pandemic. But last year I could go to the local 7-Eleven on Friday nights. You could get a coupon from the local 7-Eleven that would allow – it was pretty much a coupon that gave you a $7 ticket. Like you could get in as a $7 ticket to get in the Rays games on Friday nights. Like, and still nobody went. Like a $7 ticket to get in and still nobody goes. So baseball is going to want Houston, LA. But I think personally, I'd want to see the Rays. And I'd want to see, like the Rays, like obviously I'm rooting for Houston for the spiteful reasons I talked about. But if I'm just talking about from a baseball perspective, I'd like to see the Rays win it. And I don't really want to see the Dodgers, so I guess I'd be cool with watching the Braves make it. But the Rays are the one team I kind of want to see make it. And I'd like to see them win it because I think I think they deserve it. Everything they've built as a franchise, as an organization, they've created something that works for them.
I know a lot of people are going to downplay championship titles during the end of this bubble year, this COVID year, whatever you want to call it. But I'm with you. I think I'm one of these guys. I really like to see organizations who haven't really had the chance to have any success or you're fairly new, 20, 30 years old, et cetera, like that.
Well, organizations that have put a plan in place and have actually built something and have been successful building that plan, you're like, hey, here's your reward for actually, building that successfully. They've done that really well, so good for them.
Unlike us here in Philadelphia, when we build a process, it blows up in our face.
It blows up in our face, right? They've actually, they've built something that works for them. Okay, good. I'm not going to hate on that. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. That's kind of where I feel. I like I said, I wouldn't be against the Rays getting in there and pulling a kind of Cinderella kind of season, if you will, so to speak.
Well, see, and I don't even know if I would call it that with them, though, necessarily. I would call the Marlins season that. But the Rays have been they've been a consistent playoff team.
Cinderella season. That was a gift from the baseball gods because there was extra playoff.
Well, that's what Cinderella seasons are. They're gifts from the baseball gods.
Cinderella season means you made something out of the season. You didn't just get in.
Okay, they had a Cinderella run to the postseason, whatever. But the Rays have been a consistent playoff team. Like the Rays have been building towards this for years now. They've been a playoff team, in the past few years where you're like, hey, you could see this happening. You can see them building towards this. So for me, I don't necessarily consider them like a Cinderella team because I think in some ways that's almost unfair to them because they've been building towards this so consistently over the past few years where it's like you could almost see this coming in a way. They've made some good trades. Did you see the package they got for Chris Archer when they traded Archer to Pittsburgh? I mean, they fucking robbed the Pirates blind in that trade.
Hey, man, it's one of those things. If you can make trades happen for you, you get – like I said, everything's going Tampa Bay's way right now. I don't know if it's their year, for, like I said, for the aesthetic purposes of them being able to make their first run and all that. I hope they do.
Here's the one thing that worries me about the Astros. Who's their manager? Dusty Baker. And Dusty Baker's MO his whole fucking career has good teams, gets to a spot in the postseason, then finds a way to completely mismanage the fuck out of a postseason series.
Let's be honest. Dusty Baker calls Barry Bonds a World Series title.
He mismanaged the fuck out of the Angels series. Absolutely. Russell Ortiz had that game on lockdown. And he took him out. And what was even better is remember when he took Russell Ortiz out. I always remember as a little kid, Russell Ortiz hands the ball to Dusty Baker, and Dusty Baker gave the clap of the hands and took the ball and rolled it into the dugout, almost like that. Hey, that's going to be the game winner. Like we're going to save that one and put it in the trophy case because that's the ball that you use to pitch, to lock this clinching game down. And then the Angels came back and won. And it was like almost like that's what you get for being that obnoxious.
You don't make it so known you do that because sometimes that is exactly what a team
rallies the other team up. Like that's what you get for being so obnoxious.
That ball. All right. Let's go, boys.
Yeah, then get up. You're obnoxious, and grown men like to stick it back in your face when you're obnoxious like that. He mismanaged the Cubs in the 2003 playoffs right after that, the very next year. And a lot of Cubs fans I know still blame him for ruining Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor. Because he used to be notorious for letting his starters stay in, not making the move to the bullpen and guys that throw 140 pitches and shit like that. He mismanaged the Cubs and killed some of their young pitchers that they had, at least according to Cubs fans that I know. So, then he went to the Reds, and same thing. We beat him.
No, Anthony. We don't.
Dodgers are not winning. We've been through this. They're not winning the World Series.
We don't want that. I don't think it's going to happen.
I actually think they had a better chance 3 or 4 years ago. Like, I think they're past their prime now.
Yeah, I think, when, right as Corey Bellinger was first kind of really ascending is probably the time they probably should have got another one. I think, the money they tied up into that outfield now isn't really kind of worth it. So,
dude, they had Kershaw and Greinke on a single rotation, and they couldn't win it. Like, at that point, like, that right there is like, dude, like you got a 1-2 punch that's as good as any in baseball.
I'm with you there. I don't see the Dodgers pulling it off this year. I don't. Maybe it's just because of how they've fallen short over the last few seasons. We're kind of having that. I guess
I'm waiting for my Kershaw moment. I'm waiting for the Kershaw moment where he gives up a big 3-run homer or something in the 6th inning of a playoff game, and it's like, oh, there it is. There's playoff Kershaw. There's the guy we all know and love. Okay. And it's going to break our hearts because it's going to be Acuna or somebody like that. It is. Acuna is going to hit a grand slam, or Dansby Swanson. It's going to be one of those guys they're so good, but we love to hate them, and they're going to break our heart. Well, what if it's Darno, like the ex-Philly prospect? You're just like, oh, my God, not this guy. Like, really, this is going to be the dude that has to break everybody's hearts? Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Anthony, I think it's a little too early to be drinking the sauce today, brother. It's not.
No one will contend with them. What? Dude, that Braves team, have you not seen that Braves lineup? They're young, they're talented, they play with some swagger. That's why I actually like the Braves out of the National League. You see the swagger they play with? They're young, they're talented, they play with swagger, and they're unapologetic about it. Yeah, I love it. Acuna, Swanson, all those guys. The bat flips, the energy that they play with, that's what winning teams have. Like, they're smelling themselves a little bit. They feel as if they're a championship team. And that's what it takes to go win.
But they're not being overly kind of cocky.
They're not being obnoxious about it. They're being fun. They're doing it in a fun way. It's like you can tell that they're that confidence that hey, we're good enough to go win this thing. Hey, let's enjoy it as we do it, And you can see, like, every single game, it seems like, it comes out of them in different ways. I'm not going to hate on it, whatever. I know they're the Braves. I know they're one of our rivals. We like to hate on it, but that's what baseball's supposed to be all about. Young guys like that, having fun while kicking in.
Don't paint yourself in that corner, Anthony.
Young and talented. They've got Freddie Freeman. Literally, the captain of that team is Freddie Freeman. That dude's battle-tested, been through everything that baseball can throw at you, for God's sakes. Don't tell me they haven't played in the big game and they don't know how to win. That team's got everything you want. I wish we were them right now. Fuck you. Like, really, let's be honest. Like, if we could switch organization, I would.
Yeah, would want to be in the Braves situation right now.
Who wouldn't want to be them?
So, listen. Well, I guess we'll see over the next 2 weeks how the divisional series and the World Series plays out. But yeah, Anthony, laugh it off, brother, man. You got to let that one go, man.
I'm not going to just say you like the Dodgers more and move on. Why, like, painting all these pictures, putting yourself into a corner because, the Braves aren't this or the Braves aren't that. Like, now you're just setting yourself up for looking silly. Just say you think you like the Dodgers more in the series and you're taking them. But the Braves aren't experienced enough, or the Braves are this or that. Like, that just, now all of a sudden, you get exposed next week on a show because you just make it too easy for us, and that's what we do here.
Yeah, man. But Anything you want to add to baseball before we get ready to wrap it up, bro?
Not baseball, I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, no, I'm watching. I mean, Tennessee's trying to beat Georgia right now. It's 21-20. Tennessee's beating Georgia at the moment. I mean, college football. We got Miami, Clemson tonight. You excited about that one? That's
Hey man, now listen, like that outside of like the PA teams, like
intercepted. Oh wow,
college football, you always have a team that Miami Hurricanes. Like that's always been one of my teams.
You'll like this story then. So, Miami is pretty much, it runs in my family. I grew up with Miami's 90s Miami Dynasty football. I've got an aunt, I pretty much considered her my second mom growing up. We were that close.
I think everyone is right along with you that we were happy
we're happy about that. We can agree there. We can agree there.
When they stole Garrett Cole from Houston, right?
Yeah, they did.
To try to basically saying this is what's going to get us over the hump, and basically ate that contract for no reason this season. So yes, we are all ecstatic over that.
My aunt's an old school University of Miami graduate. I graduated there, I believe, 1972, something like that. And she lived down there in the Miami area for about a decade or so after that, close to a decade after that, taught at one of the schools down there. She used to go to the Orange Bowl back when Howard Schnellenberger was building those early Miami dynasties before Jimmy Johnson got there. So she's told me old Orange Bowl stories from the 70s and stuff, like old school Miami football stories, like before they ever were the national power they became. Yeah. So I got to grow up with her watching those 90s Miami dynasties and seeing all of that. It's really, really fun to see. This is the closest that program's been to being back.
I just remember the battles they used to have with Florida State and Bobby Bowden.
Yeah, of course, and wide right and wide left and all those battles.
To watch that conference, everything.
That's my point. Is Miami being good? That's forget about being a Miami fan. That's good for college football. Miami is that's a college football. That's one of those storied programs right there. And them being competitive, just like Notre Dame being competitive, Ohio State being competitive. Any of those programs you want to throw out there, Miami's a program that when they're competitive, college football is so much more fun because of the rivalries that go with it and all that. So I think this is the closest they've been to being that level of program again in probably 15 years. I don't think they're on Clemson's level.
No, they're not. They're definitely not.
But it would be. This is a good test to see how close they are to being that program again. How far away are they from getting back to that level? And great point by Anthony. The Orange Bowl that they used to play at. My aunt used to tell me this. This is a big reason why Miami has fallen so far as a national program. The Orange Bowl provided such a home field advantage. It was such a special atmosphere that once they destroyed that and they built that eyesore that is the Miami Marlins baseball stadium now, it sits on the very ground that the Orange Bowl was on. Ooh, that drives me crazy. It's an eyesore, it's ugly, and the Orange Bowl is such a historical place. They ripped it down to put that building there. It drives me nuts. But it is hard. You can't create the same atmosphere at Hard Rock Stadium. You just can't. From the student section and all that, not to mention the Orange Bowl used to be right there on campus, and the Hard Rock Stadium's about, 30, 45, minutes to an hour away, depending on traffic. It's not the same.
Absolutely, man. And listen, everyone, make sure you guys are tuning in for college football the rest of the day. We got obviously there's a lot more sports going on today. You got some UFC fights going on. Bare knuckle boxing, again, best to go out to, one of our former guests over the past month, David Caveman Rickles, is going to be going in there. I guess my man Clifford Wright Jr., that should be a fun scrap. Joey Beltran fighting on the card, so they got some fun fights going on in the combat sports world. Again, big thanks to our guests this afternoon, both Burt Watson and Eldra. Obviously, we got to get them audio and issues cleaned up so we can get some good talk with Eldra. Other than that,
who you got Sunday night? Lakers Heat. Who you got Sunday night? You said you think it's going to be
I thought the Heat was going to push it to 7 no matter what.
Okay.
I've seen how they played, and then we're already talking about Anthony Davis kind of maybe missing a game or if not being out the rest of the way. Is that the Lakers are a different team without that? So at the very least, I see him pushing it to 7.
Well, I'm getting this now. It says Anthony Davis is probable for Game 6.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's at least going to play.
Yeah,
but
Anthony's along with us here.
I'm with you. I like it. Yeah, I want to see it go to Game 7. I think NBA basketball. I think the league itself would benefit from it going to 7 games. So yeah,
figure out a pull this one out. Again, 3 points will probably be the difference. I know we already seen Cromer here in the chat earlier said he was going 23-20 Steelers. I know you went a different way. I thought you said 21-17, something like that.
But I'll go 24-21 just because I like the over-under is 44. I'm going 24-21 to make the total .45, and there's going to be a lot of sports bettors out there that are going to be going crazy and just absolutely fucking, want to kill themselves that night one way or another because they got screwed over because it went, the over-under was 44 and it went to 45. So I like 24-21 as a final. I'll take the Birds 24-21.
I'll go 27-24 Birds.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be a good game. I think we'll see some turnovers. I think we'll see a good defensive game early, and then as we start moving on into the second, third, fourth quarters, we're going to start seeing the offense find rhythm on both sides of the ball, and we'll experience a fun game come Sunday night. We'll see how it all eventually winds up playing out. But again, guys. I said it last week. I'll say it again. If you haven't heard or checked out, remember, A2D is going to be live on ESPN Radio 97.3 down there in Ocean City. Tommy's going to be on with the guys. I know some of us are going down tomorrow. I believe Alex is also going to be there from Philly Drinkers. Going to be getting rid of some T-shirts. As long as I am going to be there, I should be giving away the Ron Jaworski jersey that's going to be signed. So whoever winds up coming by, buying some shirts from down there at the on the boardwalk in Ocean City, we'll see what happens. Other than that, again, big thanks to our guests. Big thanks to my favorite hippie over here. That's what I'm gonna call you now. You're not
okay. I'm with you there. That works. That works. And we need to get Alex to hook me up with some T-shirts and some Philly Drinker gear. It'd be phenomenal.
Hey man, I had to buy all my stuff, so I don't know, man. If he starts hooking you up with some stuff, I want to call Alex.
I'm too broke for any of that.
But closing it out again, as you were just mentioning, Philly Drinkers, make sure you guys are getting all your A2D gear, all your weekly roundup gear, and get yourself a. Get yourself a Gaither, whatever you guys want to get to show your love for A2D Philly Drinkers. Make sure you're checking them out, phillydrinkers.com. And before we wrap it up, obviously, make sure you're showing some love to the station sponsors as well. And that we're brought to you by Ambuck Services. That's AMBUCK Services. Call Michael Ambrose. Tell him A2D sent you. 20% off gutter guards, anything around your house. That is ambuckservices.com. Other than that, I'm Steve. He's Zach. This was another episode of the Weekly Roundup, and we will see you guys next week. Have a good one. Hope to see you guys Sunday. That is 10 to 12 on the Ocean City Boardwalk. Have a good one, guys.